Welcome back to the Remedial Film Class Podcast. I'm your host, Dan.
And I'm Travis.
And I'm George.
And George, he's on the highway to hell, full, and now the dead walk the earth.
Hell is full. That was a good one. Yeah. I bought the t-shirt. Hell is full, so the dead walk the earth.
So, George, we've really come full circle today. We've had you watch Night of the Living Dead from 1968. We've had you watch Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead and a couple in between that had a little something to do with the Romero Dead series. And tonight, we just had you watch Tom Savini's Night of the Living Dead 1990.
Yes.
Are your brains still intact in your skull?
Oh, yeah.
No,
no
bullet wounds, no
No.
bites, no infections.
No.
Still got a pulse?
My mind wasn't blown.
No, it's not a mind-blowing movie.
Whoa.
But
wait.
this is no. I'm not gonna say no. My mind isn't blown. But like, my God, if this wasn't the best zombie movie we've watched thus far.
So far.
It is. Yes.
Why is he laughing?
Yes.
I guess, yeah, okay, cool. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week for whatever movie we're watching. George liked this one.
So good.
My work here is done.
I think it was, for me, it was the infancy that we've been talking about. Like, we were trying to work our way to Walking Dead. This was the first zombie movie that I watched as a serious movie. I've seen Return, I've seen Dawn, Day. They always seemed kind of, I don't want to say hokey, but they always seemed kind of far-fetched, almost like Lampoon.
Yeah.
This, they took a serious approach. It's still written by George Romero and John Russo. They're still involved.
And everything, it seems like almost everything that I was sitting here having a problem with when I was watching the original was fixed. Everything.
And what's funny is they do some of the same things that aggravated me, but it didn't aggravate me.
Yeah, like this, like using tools like trying to break the window with a brick. It's kind of like, I kind of thought, I was like, okay, well, that was in the original, so I'm like,
there's a lot of homages in this movie.
I'm gonna let it slide because this is a remake of a movie that
some of it frame by frame, like line by line.
But yeah, just like, I mean, let's talk about it. Like the scene when the little girl, what was the little girl's name? Sarah?
Sarah.
When Sarah bit her mother instead of stabbing her with...
But you still get the trowel.
Right? You get the blood splatter on the trowel, but Savini doesn't go there. Right, where the original went. And I'm so glad that he fixed that.
What's funny is that I brought up before, The Walking Dead is basically people my age that have seen all these movies and they're kind of doing their own version, but trying to fix some things that they might have had a problem with.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I saw this movie as. Like, Tom Savini was like, okay, I wanted to work on the original, but I couldn't because he got drafted. So he was in Vietnam as a photographer, so he couldn't work on the original. So he got his final chance to do something with it, and instead he was able to direct. So he just took all the things that, even the one zombie using a brick to get in through the window, it still was fixed because to me, it looked primal. It didn't look calculated.
Yeah.
It looked like it was almost like instinctual.
Yeah, apes use tools.
Yeah.
And
I was fine with that. That didn't bother me at all. But if they start knocking out headlights and stuff and, fiddling with keys and calling the police...
Send more cops.
That's when I start or looking down the barrel of an M16.
Yeah.
You gotta let that go, man. You gotta let it
go.
I
know. It's sat with me. It definitely sat with me. But I guess, what, do we go back to the beginning? Because they kind of did almost the exact same thing where Barbara is Barbara. And
Barbara was directed much better this time.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
it was a different era,
her
guys.
brother,
different era.
Yes. And I saw a documentary where she did hit on that. She said, it's kind of that time of empowerment, and you have the Sigourney Weaver and the Sarah Connors.
Yes.
And all.
Yeah,
so
that's exactly how I saw her in this
they totally
movie.
went that way with
the
it.
Murphy Browns. Heck yeah, man.
Yeah, Ally McBeal. But I mean, there's still things wrong with it that I could find.
Why?
But, I mean,
Why would you even look? Why do you always look for
no,
what's
no,
wrong
no, no,
with these
I
movies?
I love this movie. I love this movie. But watching it last night, trying not to watch it through the eyes of George, and just trying to. I sat with my son and I watched it because he watches Walking Dead now. So I figured, all right, I'll let him watch it, see if he's kind of use him as a barometer of you, because that's his only frame of reference is the show as well.
Right.
And he was jumping at the right times. He was reacting at the right times, and he loved it. So I was like, okay, here's a 30-year-old movie, and it I would say it holds up.
Yeah, somehow Savini still managed to surprise you,
Yeah, and you knew the story, you knew everything was going to happen.
Right. Yeah, but he still surprised you, like, the guy that in the graveyard that throws you off,
Mm-hmm.
and then, like that right in the beginning, you're like, oh, okay, and then,
It's just an old man. He's
yeah,
not a
and it's
zombie.
like,
Yeah.
wait, what the heck is going on here? And then boom, and then his decision to have like zombies coming through the windows as they're trying to board up
Mhm.
was really good.
It added some tension that was missing in the other movies.
Yep, and how everyone pitched in to like basically board up a window at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were like 3 people hammering, one person holding the zombie back. That was cool. I liked how he fixed the problem that I had with the key. Do you remember the key?
The gas pump key?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the key, I was like the key was there the whole time. the key was down in the basement the whole time.
Right.
It was like,
And that's why he laughs.
and well, in this one, it's not just like, oh, there's this key ring downstairs.
Right.
It's like in the first one, I was like, why didn't see what these keys do? Like,
let's try them out.
This is like the first, like, we got to do this, right? So they didn't do that in the first movie, and in this one, he made it good. They're like, oh, check, that guy, that zombie guy that we put him outside. He probably has the keys in his pocket. So they go out there and they have
Well, they doubled down on it because they basically found keys, took them to the pump, and they didn't work. Right.
Right. Great. Fantastic. Now you have a reason to start a fire at the pump.
Right.
Right.
By dumb. It's just, ugh.
Yeah.
A passionate, impulsive response.
Total
like
Darwinism.
Yeah.
What, to shoot the lock off of a gas tank?
I mean, passion and impulse. What can we say?
But
I
panic,
You feel
panic,
pressured.
panic.
I much prefer the way that unfolded.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Ben finds the key in the basement at the very end and laughs because what else can you do?
What can you do?
At that point? The way it unfolded this time as opposed to the original was much, 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 much better.
Yeah, there was more thought.
Much improved.
And the whole Barbara being catatonic for a couple minutes. And
I
then
loved Barbara's
totally
character.
getting her shit together.
Yes.
And then the girlfriend becomes the Barbara from the original movie.
Yes. Kind of, yeah.
And then she, throughout the movie, becomes Sarah Connor, basically.
Yep.
And that's why I think the scene that made me fall in love with it is obviously the scenery. But the one moment, I would say, is when she's looking out the window, she's like, they're so slow. They're so slow.
Right.
We can run right past them.
Right.
And we're all thinking that. We're thinking that for 35 years. And she's finally saying it. We can run right past them.
Yeah.
And then when she gets outside, that real moment is when she does that, oh God. Like she's just like, they're just walking at her and she's just kind of pushing it. And she realizes that all those people died for no reason. They could have walked through the farmlands and gotten out of there. I just love that because they are so damn slow.
Well, I don't know because I don't know if they could have all just gotten out of there. And
If you work together, I mean, from The Walking Dead,
right?
If you're what's the word? If you're planned and you're strategic, you can do it.
Yeah, I get it.
And that was the whole commentary of the original, and this is that people don't work together when they're not working together. Like that Mr. Cooper was the wrench in that
Oh, dude,
the whole time.
Mr. Cooper,
needed to die.
fantastic for performance in this, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about the end of this. Like,
Because it turned her into a murderer?
no, that was very satisfying.
Okay.
I'm not worried about that because he caused.
He killed everybody.
Yeah, he caused everything. So yeah, off him. I don't care about that. I don't know. It's just the ending is so different from the original.
It's a different time.
It kind of makes it just a completely different movie almost.
Well, I think the commentary is different. There's no racial overtones. I mean, there are there because it's a remake of the original.
Mm-hmm.
And you have by that time, it's not really unheard of to have a black male as the leading.
Right. It was 1990, right?
Right. So
Yeah.
it's normal.
Right.
So they couldn't really do that whole thing. The good old boys outside doing it. Like they were still doing that, but they kind of changed that a little bit.
Yeah.
They already changed Barbara. They changed Cooper, and then making Ben dead still ruins the hope that you might have had, and still makes it kind of disgusting that the outcome, no matter what, it still sucks.
Well, and it raises a really interesting technical question about these zombies, because never in the movie do we ever see Ben exposed to any zombie bites or any zombie fluids in a way that would lead to him
Right.
to become a zombie. So, and he's the only
We're all
one down there,
infected.
right? So, I mean, are we
Mhm.
to believe then? Are we to understand then that whatever this phenomena is, it isn't necessarily viral because he dies of a gunshot wound and still comes back as one of the Walking Dead? So now we've got to look at what, radiation again?
Mm.
Just bad luck?
You know what? What's funny is I knew he died from the gunshots and became a zombie, but I never, ever, ever thought to myself that connection that he was never bit. I mean, they touch on that on the show, but that's never been in question with this movie. Like, no one's ever said, well, he was never bit.
Right.
Because that's like one of the big reveals is we're all infected. So that's never been said in any other movies, that you're going to have it anyway. You're going to turn anyway, whether you're bit.
Yeah,
or
I think
scratched.
I didn't even notice that. I didn't notice that the fact that he became a zombie even though he wasn't bit, because I'm so used to The Walking Dead where
You change when you die.
yeah, it's this I guess it's this viral thing in The Walking Dead where everybody, like, it spreads to everybody, right? So everybody has it. Every living person has this disease that when they
Right.
die,
Triggers it.
they become reanimated. And that's like a big reveal, I think, in like at the end of season 2, I think.
2, yeah.
Where Rick, knew since the CDC, since working with Dr. Jenner, I think his name
Yeah.
was, where Dr. Jenner told him that everyone was infected, but he only told Rick.
Right.
Right. So, and then Rick had to break it to everybody, but
That we're all infected.
we're all infected.
Yeah.
So I didn't even think that because
Me
it's
neither.
been part of my zombie, vernacular.
Yeah.
That is like,
So
if everyone's infected.
So now that's one of those things that when we finally get Robert Kirkman on the show, we can say, was that your influence was this remake to do that in the comics?
He'll probably be like, nah, you're looking
Nah.
way too far into it.
Yeah. It's from Bad Chicken.
Us?
Yeah.
The Remedial Film
what he would-
Class
he would say
looking
that.
too far into something? I don't believe it for a
Nah.
second. Anyway, everybody knows that Night of the Living Dead 1990 is a direct sequel, unacknowledged, to The Walking Dead at Manchester Morgue and the Radiate. Oh, no. Never mind.
No.
Not the case.
It's not.
Space radiation, boys.
Space radiation.
Makes me want to have Eugene rattle off 2 pages of dialogue about radiation from a satellite.
Me too. Me too.
Me too.
Oh, man.
What about you, Dan?
I love the
How
movie.
did you feel about it?
I thought it
You love
was
the movie.
awesome. I think it's the only way that you can remake this movie. Like, I don't think we ever
Yes.
need another remake of Night of the Living Dead because it cuts out the politics, but in a way that it doesn't like neuter the story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, certain remakes of movies will try to like excise all the social commentary, and what you're left with is just like an action movie with chainsaws and a bus full of people with chainsaws. Like it's just not the same.
They take the heart out of it. They take the thought out of it.
Yeah, and
you
this
do
one
that.
it takes the thought out of it only so far as the context of the time that the first one was made. It doesn't try to like drag that 30 years forward and
Right.
make the same
Well,
movie in the 90s. And I think that's the right move.
I think what they successfully do is the original does a commentary on, human relations in that kind of environment. This movie removes, like you said, the politics of it, but people are still people.
Indeed.
And people are shitty. No matter what color you are, no matter what gender you are, they're shitty. And you can find the shitty ones in tense situations. Period.
It's a tale
So it
as old
doesn't really
as time.
Exactly. So you almost know who's on your apocalypse team based on, how they deal with situations. What's funny is there's a part in Walking Dead where Shane, who's the head case, he has a moment where he's trying to show other people that these things are dead, and he's shooting them in the chest, and he's like, "Why is he still coming at me?"
Yes.
Bang, bang. Look at him. If he was alive, would he still be coming at me? Bang, bang, bang. He keeps shooting them, and then
I know where they got that idea.
Yeah, that's where she did. When she did that, it's the first time I realized
That's Shane.
that's totally Shane. She's
Yeah.
like, "Why is she still coming?" I'm like, "Oh my god, she's gonna shave her head."
She didn't have far
But
to
it
go.
was great. No, and I met her. She's a interesting person. She's a.
I really loved her character arc.
Yeah.
I really did.
I like the Ben character too.
Oh my gosh, Tony Todd, man. Tony
Yeah.
Todd. If
Ugh.
I say his name one more time, he's going to show up on our podcast.
Boo! Who you coo? Listen to Candyman. Come with me and be immortal. Travis, this has been booked by your good friend Dan. He tells me that you're a huge fan of Night of the Living Dead, Tom Savini style. That was my first introduction to horror. I'll never forget it. And I'll never forget, I was working on a film with Forrest Whitaker, and he told me that they were remaking the original. And he said, you and Dwayne resemble each other. So Saturday was my day off, and ran over there. I saw Tom. He said, no, I've already cast it. And I said, well, let me give a crack at it. And I literally put my hands on his shoulder, firmly but gently put him down, and read a monologue from the piece. Next Monday I had the job. So thank you for your love of horror. Thank you, Dan, for booking this for Travis. And you guys have a fantastic summer.
George doesn't get
know
that
who
joke yet.
Candyman is. Do you know who Candyman is?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he's Candyman. I won't say it a third time. But yeah, he added so much to that part.
The actor that played
Tony Todd
Benjamin?
is Candyman.
No, actually, Zombie Ben, it's part of his backstory. He ends up in the projects in Chicago right after this movie, and then,
Mm-hmm.
no, it's the same actor,
No.
dude.
But he's phenomenal. Like
Oh, I actually don't know Candyman. I lied.
Yeah, I didn't think he did. It's a good movie. We'll
He's-
watch it someday.
yeah, we'll definitely watch it.
I was confusing him with like Bloody Mary.
Mm.
Yeah,
think.
I mean, yeah. A little
Yeah.
different. Kind of the same. A little different.
But even like every line, he's actually the great example of the things that I've always been talking about. Like you have these lines. There's words on the page.
Mm-hmm.
How you say them determines whether you're an okay actor, a good actor, or a great actor. I mean, he said a lot of the same lines that the Ben from the original says, but they
Mhm.
were almost like they were spoken volley style in the original movie. There was some acting going on, but it was pretty much just dialogue.
Yes.
There's so much weight behind the same lines
Yes.
that I was just like, oh, yes.
I remember specifically the back and forth between him and Cooper, where the line is something like, "If you want to be in charge, you can be in charge of down there. I'm in charge
charged
up here."
Right. That's the line I
That
was about to say.
line
Yep.
was delivered way different.
Mm-hmm. And it's the
this
same
time.
line.
It's the same line.
Same line.
It's beautiful this time
Mm-hmm.
because he's basically saying like that downstairs, the basement, the dungeon, your dungeon, like
Yeah, go there.
you're
You're in charge.
you go there, you be in charge there. He was
Right.
like basically, yeah, you're
I'm in charge up here.
Yeah.
But it was like that. that punctuation.
The upstairs was better. It was the more reasonable place to be.
Right.
And you're an idiot. Go be in charge of your idiotic place. I'm in charge here. Like, it was...
He was so smarmy.
Yeah.
I think the big question is, was he taking that TV downstairs?
Oh, he was totally taking that TV downstairs.
I almost rewound it. I was like, I don't know.
Because he's right. He might not get reception down there.
Maybe he was just checking if he got
But
reception.
I think he was
down there.
lying.
He was just
He's
lying.
a
Cooper's a
smarmy
scumbag.
bastard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another
his
one
wife
for the
hated him.
fire.
Another one for the
Another one
fire.
for
That's
the
right.
fire.
Hell of a use
like
of a
how he-
line. Oh my god.
Yes.
Like this,
like that.
there are movies that are remakes that you wish had never happened. This is one of the ones that
Psycho.
I'm glad that it happened because it's like a masterclass in using the same pieces as the first one and in a completely different way, right? But still impactful and in a way that tells an audience that knows the other movie as well as Travis and I do. Like, I see you, fam, but like you didn't think I could get away with it, and I just used the line and it still hit. You did it. I did it. We did it together.
Yeah, when he said that line, it's like you're hearing it for the first time.
So good. So good.
Like I equate this kind of remake to, I don't want to try to equate it to a musical or a theater in any way, but that's how I can judge a good show is when they have a reprise or a revival of a show. Like you get when the revival is better than the original on Broadway, it just breaks all records and becomes a crowd favorite. And people kind of forget so much the original, then the remake becomes the new, the new hotness, the Tom Brady. So it's like with this movie, I don't have to watch the original. This gives me everything the original gives me times 10. So yeah, I'll watch the original because it's nostalgic and it's classic and it's an icon.
I'm glad I watched the original.
Yeah, but
Definitely.
everything that's cool about that movie is done better in this movie, and no fault. No fault to George Romero. I think because George Romero was involved in both projects, I can say that.
Well, you never ever. I'm trying to think of a single remake I've seen of a flagship movie where the original writer wrote the screenplay for the remake.
Right.
You never see that. That's cool.
But it's
as
almost
hell.
like he fixed his problems. He fixed the problems.
Well, I don't know if
Romero
he
did.
fixed
Yes.
problems
Yeah.
as much as he just had another crack at it. Try it a different
But
way.
then Tom Savini also gave some input, and you hear the ideas that he brought to the table. Like his idea to have that basically fresh autopsy body in the beginning. That was his idea. He was part of that process where he said this would be cool, and this would tell a story without saying a word. And it's like that's the attention to detail that the original, they didn't have the budget or the time to really care to do something like that, because they knew with a budget like that they can't do that makeup.
Right.
They can't do these certain things, so they just kind of do what they have to do. This, I think they had like $53 million to do this movie, so everything is
But you're absolutely right though, because I'm just a casual zombie movie watcher, and I was like, oh, that guy's just freshly dead. It's like he had an autopsy.
And the makeup, like they, instead of going blue or whatever, they went like that off yellowish, that ruddy yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like iodine.
Yep.
Stained skin.
Yep. Like
Just that detail.
jaundiced looking.
Ugh.
Yeah.
And the eyes, the contacts. Like to me, this was the movie I saw that whenever I watch a zombie movie, that's what I expected. And when I didn't see it, I was like, eh. So I think that's why I had apprehension when it came to the go-to that everybody talks about. I was like, yeah, but I know Savini did this, but they're blue. They look like Smurfs. Like I had a problem with that because I personally had this as a frame of reference.
Yes, I understand that now.
And
the blue zombies annoyed me too when I watched that, but the story there,
the story was fine.
The story was good. It pushed the zombie genre into that survival realm that it never had before. Right. I like that about that movie.
I would say my directing ADD went off the charts during that movie.
I hear
I'm
you.
like, okay, there's 5 zombies standing next to each other, and they all look different.
In this movie, every zombie went to the same zombie acting school, which is good.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Do you know who their coach was? You don't know.
I would guess Savini.
The autopsy guy.
Oh, the autopsy zombie was
Yeah.
the zombie coach.
He was the zombie coach.
Very good.
I found that out. I was like, that's interesting.
That's cool.
I don't know.
I thought you were gonna like drop like
Nicotero.
yeah, Nicotero. Be like, well, Neeson's involved in this movie.
Oh, it was Andrew Lincoln. No.
Yeah. Who was Andrew Lincoln?
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to complain about with this one.
Dan
I don't
doesn't know
think.
who Andrew Lincoln is.
I do have one complaint, guys.
Uh-oh.
There's a scene in this movie that I had to rewind about probably at least 4 times. And my wife was around. I said, hey, get in here and tell me what the hell's going on. And she's like, oh my God, what? And we watched it again. She's like, what in the world? I'm going to send you a clip of this movie. And I'm going to tell you, when I first saw this clip, I was like, guys, I don't know what's going on right now. And I thought it was just like, I couldn't tell if it was a joke. Now, my problem was I saw this clip and then I was like, okay, pause, rewind. What did I just see? Okay, wait, pause, rewind. What did I just see? If I'd kept watching another like 45 seconds, I would have known exactly what the problem was. But what I want you to do is I want you to watch this clip completely as if you don't know what's coming and see why I kept getting hung up on a certain little punctuation at the end of this scene.
I want you to stay inside.
What?
Keep the rifle.
You can't go out without the guns.
Look, we have Tom's gun. Now, if something happens, I want that rifle in here. I don't want any locked doors in between me and this guy.
Oh, for crying out loud, do you
Shut up, Cooper! I don't want to hear another word out of you. The only way I'm going out there is with you and that rifle, keeping things straight. Tom, let's go. It's you and me.
So he does something, and you can't see his hands. You hear a strange noise, and then there's like jetsam from his hands. Like there's stuff. And I'm like, is that silly string? Did he just spray silly string? Is this a gag? Am I supposed to laugh at why does he have silly string? And I went back and watched it again, and I slowed it down frame by frame. You never see what he grabs. You never see his hands. And at one point, I've got it freeze framed, and he's like, there's stuff in the air, and I can't identify what this silly string looking stuff is. And he's spit as part of the like his dialogue. So there's like this big trail of spit in the air headed toward the actress, and there's blue like silly string in the air. And I was just like, honey, I don't know what the hell is going on right now. Like, I'm entertained, but I don't know what the hell I'm looking at.
When I saw that, I barely saw it.
Right.
And I thought it was just spit coming out of his mouth.
Right. But no, he waves his hand. I don't know if he's maybe fussing with twine or something.
So he's ripping the towel that he's going to make his torch out of.
Oh,
but they never established the towel beforehand. They don't establish it in that shot at all. It's completely out of frame. And so if you keep watching in the movie, 30 seconds later, he's got a blue towel wrapped around the leg of a table he's making his torch on. And I'm just like, oh, okay. Had I watched another 30 seconds, I wouldn't have spent 10 minutes rewinding, play, rewinding, play. What the hell is this scene?
There was more acting in that exchange of dialogue than in almost half of season 1 and 2 for our show.
Yeah, right.
It's a good scene. Tony Todd, man. Yeah. Holy moly. That man is a talented actor.
He said his name a third time. Here he comes.
Oh, shit. Stay away from the mirror.
I'm not in a mirrored room, so I'm safe.
Okay. My complaint about this movie is the girlfriend. Like, I had to mute the TV. Gabe kept laughing at me because I was like, oh my God, she's screaming again. Like, I'm like, what is her deal? But then I'm like, okay, she's doing damsel shit because Barbara's not doing it this time. But she's hammering at home. She's at 11.
But she's a pretty good driver. And she goes back and gets, the person who shall not be named because I don't want him to come in and attack me with his Candyman powers.
We'll say Ben.
She doesn't go back.
Or does he just?
She says, "Oh shit," and then she never goes back.
She's gonna go back, but then she doesn't, and that's good because he would have blown up too.
Right.
So she's a hero for not blowing up Tony Todd. Damn it.
The truck wouldn't start.
Oh,
the cars never start in these movies.
It started one time at least.
They did explain it.
He was low
on
gas.
fumes.
Gotcha.
Right.
Whatever.
Ish.
I mean, that was like my complaint with all the Jason movies. I was like, none of these cars ever start.
Right. Well, it's a trope.
Right.
But it's not a trope in this movie.
Well, but it was a trope by the time they made this movie.
Right.
So deal with that, man.
No, I thought it was.
Shoot.
I mean, it's fine. It's fine. It's builds suspense. At least they established that it was low on gas.
Do you think it's interesting that this movie is directed by Tom Savini, has special effects from guys who worked on Day of the Dead and Reanimator, which we didn't watch, but
Mhm.
we should someday, and yet there's like no gore in this whole movie?
No, it's like the very beginning with the hand. That was almost like an Evil Dead moment. And George doesn't have that reference, but when she's like trying to shoo the hand
I know.
into his crotch with the fire poker, I'm like, that is so funny.
But I mean, there's no explodey headshots. There's some very bloodless ones.
No.
There's no, RoboCop jelly guy getting hit by a car. There's no
But
Ed
they-
209 moment. We just don't have a
they
lot
did
of
film
blood and
it.
gore.
They did film it.
Oh,
it was
did
cut.
they?
It was cut. Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Yes.
I bring that up because earlier today on the Twitters, I saw people making a stink asking for release of the Savini cut. Now that we have the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League, Twitter wants the Savini cut of this very particular movie the night we're recording. It's very strange timing.
Yes. It is strange.
Hopefully by the time
But
we
yeah-
release this episode, we already have that cut available.
I would love to see that. cut.
Apparently, there is everything you just mentioned in that NC-17 version of this movie.
I don't know why we don't have that now. We don't have
Yeah.
standards anymore. Give me the gore.
Yeah, right. I mean,
Give it to me.
I know the bony zombie.
Name it.
Name it. The bony bald zombie that kind of comes in the door second, and that's the one where she's like, "Why is he still coming?"
Wait, which
Yeah.
one?
Shooting him.
Which one?
The one where the one who
The second one.
Mm-hmm.
when they let the door drop and the guy falls on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
and then the second zombie does like a reveal. He almost looks like he looks like a true like voodoo zombie.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like he's been long dead. Well,
She shoots him like 5 or 6 times in the torso and then does the headshot.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering how many I could get to before you'd acknowledge it.
That's apparently one of the big headshots, and then the one that was on the ground was another headshot that they cut away on. Like total just splattered all over the floor.
I mean, in a lot of ways, it makes it a lot more akin to Night of the Living Dead, so I don't hate it. I don't hate that
Right.
it's goreless. But I would like to see the gore. I like gore.
I do feel bad that it's his movie, and the attention to detail and his effects, and then they cut it. It's
Well,
kinda
but he
annoying.
wasn't really doing the effects, was he? I mean, he had the other guy.
No, but it was his
So,
direction
I
and his
don't know.
design. I think he was involved in planning out those shots.
Guys, it may not have the signature Savini gore, but it does have an excellent Savini move. Now, Tony Todd at the beginning has like a frying pan, and he reaches back to swing it, and he cracks it against the wall, and it makes a huge splatter and shows how like violent the weapon is before he swings it forward and tries to hit the zombie. And that's that old Savini trick of show the weapon being forceful in the shot and then cut to the effects, so it like transfers that energy to the effect. You see it in Friday 1 when he hits the lady with the axe after having bashed the light. So it's not as gory, but it is a pretty good effect, and it's definitely the Savini signature.
I would say that special effects are best when you don't notice them.
Yeah, like when her brother fell on the tombstone, you could tell it was a dummy.
Ooh, but the
Right.
impact is so good.
But the impact is like, yes,
Oh.
it's cringy.
It's cool.
But you could tell it was a rubber
well,
dummy.
yeah, obviously
Of
they're not
course.
going to smash a man's head into a rock.
Well, nowadays they would have done it with like a soft stone to fall on, and
Yeah.
he would have really fallen on it.
And it will look all fake. You'd be like, well, it's obviously not a real rock because it's a soft rock.
I'd have made it look real.
All right, well, after you remake Clerks, I want to see Travis.
Oh yeah,
Travis hits his head on a big old rock. That's what I
I
want.
gotta do. Kevin Smith directs Night of the Living Dead.
Travis is
Hey kids!
Oh, man.
We call it butt work.
Hey, does anybody else get like a little bit of a warm, fuzzy feeling at the end of this movie when the helicopter hovers and you see her face as she looks up at it and kind of winces? Because that's your Dawn of the Dead helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's a helicopter at the end of Night of the Living Dead, but they don't emphasize it like they do at the end of this one because it's tying back into Dawn of the Dead in a little stronger way. I always like that part. I go, "Oh, Dawn of the Dead's next."
Yes, I did notice that.
It's funny how Dan enjoys these little nods,
Mm-hmm.
and Walking Dead is full of nods to all his favorite movies.
Yeah, he should just watch Walking Dead.
Like, there's a lot of episodes that I would sit next to George and I would just be nodding my head. Yes. Like, yeah, there it is. Oh, I know that zombie from that movie. Like, Nicotero's team would say, okay, we have this featured zombie. We're going to make him look like Bub. Or this featured zombie looks like Flyboy. Like, they do that. So a person like you would be sitting there going, I know that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they even did like a Swamp Thing reference because one of the zombies was in the marshes forever and then started when was kind of triggered and started trying to get up, but he had been laying there so long he was like grown into the trees.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was a total Bernie Wrightson homage to his artwork of the Swamp Thing. So it's like that kind of stuff is not lost on you. So when you watch it, you'll be like, oh yeah, probably 2 or 3 times an episode.
Yeah.
Dan was coming, oh my God, I know what that's from. Unlike George, who sat there and didn't catch any of it.
Yeah, now he has to watch The Walking
Still
Dead
love
all
it,
over
though.
again.
I
to
might
watch it again.
I might do that actually.
It's fun to watch it. Like I watched it with Gabe and not have to worry about breaks. There was no, 6 months here and spring break, and you got to wait till Valentine's Day, like all that stuff. Just watch them back to back.
You know how like some people watch like The Office over and over and over and over again. I used to do that actually, and then they took it off of Netflix and they put it on some other streaming service, which I'm not going to buy. And Walking Dead could be that for me, where I just like watch it over and over again.
I mean, there's some episodes to skip, obviously, but I found that I wasn't sick of it when I was watching it with him, even though I knew everything was.
You were
gonna happen.
watching the entire 10 seasons over again with your son.
When I could, yeah.
Yeah, and you could just watch it again.
I was enjoying it through him.
Yeah.
Because he was seeing it for the first time, so when he was having reactions, I was like, oh, yes,
It's good
that's
stuff.
exactly when you're
Dan,
supposed to. Yeah.
it's good stuff. It's so good.
And I was nervous
man.
about him watching this movie last night because he has that, because he's a young kid and the first to roll their eyes at anything black and white or roll their eyes at anything.
I have to confess, I picked up the DVD from your house earlier, and he did tell me that he liked the movie.
He told me that.
When I was
and I
at
said, you just ruined the
I was
episode.
at your place.
Yeah, he biased
He
you.
said,
I told him
Yes.
he ruined tonight's episode.
he said,
Ruined the science.
he said he liked it. And I said, cool. Don't tell me anything else.
There you go.
I was shocked that he liked it, so we're good. I'll have to show him a few more.
But I'm not surprised that he liked it.
I'm not surprised either. When I told him what we were watching, he's like, oh. And I said,
It's
well,
quality, man.
I said, it's pretty much the first season of Walking Dead at some parts. I said, it's a small scale version of what you watch right now. I said, it's partially just like it. So I think you'll be fine.
I think
he liked it.
the fact that he liked this movie proves that you're teaching him how to appreciate shit.
Trying.
So that's good.
I'm trying. We'll see how he feels about Dawn. I didn't show him any of those.
Don't bias him. Just let him watch it.
I won't.
One thing that this movie did, there's two kind of aha moments I had watching the movie today that I hadn't had the last time I'd watched this, but I don't think I've watched it since high school, so it's been, God, almost 20 years. Ugh. Gross.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. First aha moment, they don't spend nearly enough time like fretting about what's happening outside on a global scale. Like they don't really seem as concerned with like whatever is causing it, whatever is happening, this great pandemic / disaster / attack. They spend so much more time worried about these specific zombies and then their interpersonal relationships that like it falls to third or fourth tier. Like, oh, by the way, the world is ending, Whereas the old one, there's a lot of like huddled around the TV. What are we going to do time? So that's interesting.
Well, I think they kind of remedied that with Ben telling the story about the diner, which I don't think is in the original. So he kind of talks about it is happening elsewhere.
Ben's story in the original had something to do with a truck.
Yeah.
It wasn't a diner. It was like a truck,
I think it adds to the
I don't know.
claustrophobia of the story. Like, everybody knows it's happening everywhere. So, to me, the
But
interesting
is it?
story is
I mean, or
always
is it
the
only
people.
happening in Pittsburgh and then the army's going to cover it up and then we go straight to Return of the Living Dead?
Hey, that to me, that's open to interpretation.
To be honest with you, I thought the same thing.
Right.
You know, because they didn't talk about it being on a larger scale. I thought the same thing. I was like, is this a big thing, or is this the just the Pittsburgh military?
And I don't
base
think
thing?
it's a bad choice. I just think it's interesting.
I don't think so either.
It's
No.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, I think Sean kind of does it perfectly. It shows you Sean's life. It shows you his little town. Everything is surrounded around his life.
There's a rhythm.
There's
to
a
it.
rhythm to it, and they show like what he does every day, his routines.
Mm-hmm.
But they also successfully show you tidbits, little snapshots of what's going on outside. So you hear the newscasts, about a crashed satellite. You hear little comments. You hear the sirens going when he's having that stupid conversation where he's like, "You got red on you." He's having that conversation with Meatloaf, wherever his name was. Where he says there is no I in team, there is an I in meat pie, blah blah blah. They're just having this corny conversation, but in the background you hear shit going on. You hear sirens, you hear craziness.
Yeah.
But you're so into his life and what's going on with him, like when he's on the bus and everybody around him's on their phones or whatever, and they look like they're dead. They all look like zombies. They're
I'm gonna
all kinda,
watch this. I'm gonna watch Sean again this week.
But then he passes the guy on the bus stop and he collapses.
Right.
So it's like they're totally showing you this is coming, this is happening.
It's almost prophetic.
Right. But focus on Sean.
Right.
But this is all happening around him, and
Yeah.
it's not just here. And I think they successfully do it probably the best.
Well, and there's a certain sense when you get to the good old boys at the end of the remake night. I don't know. I don't have that sense of gloom and like world-ending chaos that I did from the actual
Right.
original Night of the Living Dead. It seems like these guys kind of have the situation under control, more so than they've got the fight right in the ring. That's
Mhm.
fun. It does make
But-
me think, but that could be an intentional choice to be like, okay, here you enjoyed this fun movie. It's going to branch to Dawn of the Dead, but it's also going to branch to Return of the Living Dead, and also it'll branch to anything.
But again, not to keep continuously referencing it, but they do cover that in Walking Dead. Like it's what the gun wielding farmer guys are doing at the end. They're coping, and the whole show is about how do people take this situation, and because of their personality, what do they do with it? Do they have MMA fighting with zombies? Or do you make yourself into a dictator and create a community and make everybody work for you?
Do you
Like-
put a bunch of zombie heads on stakes and
Right, or in aquariums? Like, what
Yeah.
are you doing? What is it that you were before? Like, there's some times where some of the communities are created. Someone was a local mayor. They took their governing ability.
Mayor.
Mayor.
I'm gonna be
You know.
mayor.
So you're in charge of 3,000 people in your small town, and now here you are, able to build a community that's able to function because you were able to govern correctly. And then the person who's a narcissist takes it to a different level.
And there's the guy that's the military guy.
Right.
And there's the police officer.
There's a
and then
lot. So it's, to me,
And then
that-
there's the battered wife.
the battered wife.
I
But
mean,
this
all these
ending,
people react differently.
what does the lawyer do? The lawyer wants law. That's what their life is all about, law. And here's a lawless society. So I think the end of this movie kind of shows you this could be just the very beginning of the chaos, because these are the people that are in charge now.
Well, and I
Yeah.
think the original one gives you this feeling of
Mhm.
like the chaos has just begun. Now what? And this
Right.
one's more like the chaos has begun. Now what? Like it's just a different. But I do like the ending. I think it's neat. The cool like freeze frame thing and the direction
Mhm.
jumping between her gaze and like the fire and stuff. That's really well directed. But my other aha moment,
That had a Texas Chainsaw feel to it.
It did.
When I saw that.
all I
Sure
needed was
did.
the meow. But this movie really does give me this feeling that, like, all of these movies are just a game, and you can just reset the pieces, change the roles, and play it again.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of
Mhm.
wish that was like a cooperative video game. Like, give me a Friday the 13th the game, but it's me and my 4 buddies, and we all have to pick from limited roles, and we're in a house, and the slow zombies are coming. And don't bother with fast zombies and exploding zombies and airplane zombies and all the nonsense zombies they put in those video games. Give me a game where the only game is don't attract the horde, don't fight with each other, and see how long we can last. Because I think it'd be fun every time.
It's a very intellectual game.
Yeah.
That's
I
what I
dig it
want.
so
Very
much.
I
strategic.
want the brain game.
Yeah.
Well, that's when I kind of signed on to direct a stage play version of Night of the Living Dead. That's what intrigued me, was that dynamic, the character dynamic closed up in a house. Because it's almost, it cries for a stage play. Because you're just
Yeah, it
sitting there
really does.
watching these people go at each other's throats. It's almost like 12 Angry Men in the jury room, but with the element of possibly dying. But you're locked in a house with people you don't know. Just the dynamic of personalities. It's perfect. It's the perfect thing for actors to do. Just give them the situation and go.
If you
Play.
don't make a short film for the Remedial Film Class called 12 Angry Dead, I'm going to resign.
Wait, would it be people stuck in a house, or would it be just 12 zombies?
You got to write it, man. I just need
That
that.
would be
That name
boring
is
as
too
shit.
perfect. 12 Angry Dead.
12 Angry Dead.
You throw a comma in there. I love a comma in a title. 12 Angry, comma, Dead. 12, comma, Angry Dead.
Where's Simon Pegg? Get me Simon Pegg. We'll make that. That would be interesting. I just love that dynamic.
Dan does love a comma in a title.
I love a
He
comma,
does.
guys.
He'll
He
even
always
say
he
it.
always says it. Yeah, it's like Silent Night,
Comma,
Deadly Night,
eyebrows.
eyebrows.
Keep hoping for
Garbage
a
day.
Blu-ray re-release of parts 3 through 5 if we can get those out, guys. Silent Night, comma, Deadly
Stop
Night
it.
5.
No, stop it.
Giant Pinocchio monster guy. Heck yes.
Attack of the Misfit Toys.
Hey guys, according to the MDib, you guys might know it as the IMDb, but you and I both know you're supposed to pronounce
Yeah.
it as a word.
Yeah. IMDb.
Your friend and mine, Tom Savini, is currently slated to direct an upcoming film called Nightmare City, a zombie flick, which shares its name with another film called Nightmare City from 1980, directed by your friend and mine, Umberto Lenzi,
Nice.
Which-
What?
almost made it into our spring break because in this one, the zombies use machine guns and knives.
Stop it.
It's bonkers. Also, they invade at one point the set of an aerobics TV show
Yes.
because it's 1980, baby.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's not the 80s without aerobics.
It's fun. I think if I remember right, that one ends at an amusement park and there's like grenades. Yeah,
Wow.
we gotta watch that sometime.
Is there a break for that?
If you give me an all Italian zombie movie break, we gonna do it.
I'll do that on this.
I think I already promised you don't have to watch Zombie Holocaust though.
Yeah,
So maybe not.
we should probably get a few Spielberg movies in there before we watch that. Just saying.
Nightmare City.
Well, we can talk to Tom about that when we get him on.
Oh man, sure love that Tom Savini guy.
He really is fantastic.
He's
What
fantastic.
a gentleman.
He's the coolest.
Fantastic. It's funny. I'm gonna leave you the DVD because there is there's a commentary track from him, which is
Mhm.
pretty good, and then there's like not a documentary, but like a vignette, and it's like a pretty good interview with him, and you get to see the room, and
Gotcha.
and he tells you a little bit about his career and stuff. It's pretty good, and then they juxtapose scenes from the original with scenes from the remake, and they show you comparison. So I say you watch it. Maybe not tonight, but some night.
Oh, well.
It's worth it.
Should we tell George that he's hit the end of his spring break and he's got to go back to work next week?
No.
Spring break's
Spring
over.
break's over. SWAT team's already been called. Pepper spray deployed. Spring
Yeah.
break's over.
Zombies are in the shed. You can end it with your own viewing of Sean if you want. I kind of want to watch it with you though.
It is a free country. Maybe we should do that as like bonus content. Just watch Sean with George. And then
It's such a good
I
movie.
love Sean.
we could actually do that
So-
if you guys want to. That'd be cool as
There's a
hell.
girl in the garden. How about we do a live stream from
She's
YouTube?
so pissed.
She's so drunk.
If we have enough subscribers on YouTube by the time this episode is set to debut, we'll follow it with that. But more likely what we could do is our own commentary track, watching with George.
Okay. I'm good with that.
It'd be fun. We can point out all the shit he missed.
Yeah.
He'll be like, oh, it's like a whole nother movie. And we'll be like, yeah. Now that you know what the hell you're looking at, it's a lot better.
So, yeah, you thought you liked this movie before.
Exactly.
I watched that opening scene with the next day so many times. I just love how perfectly that fits together.
Yes.
Genius. So much foreshadowing. Yeah, we'll have to definitely do that. Bonus.
But we do need to tell George what he's watching next time. Travis, tell him what he's won.
Is this like the first movie of season 3?
This is season
this
2,
is
part 2.
Season 2, part 2.
Okay. Season 2, part 2.
Second semester. Season 2.
So, George, we are going to start season 2, part 2 with a little art house film called 28 Days Later.
Wait a
Do you
second.
know what that is? Have you seen it?
I have not seen it.
It's like
You
a
know what
love
it
letter
is?
to the SA-80. You don't know what that is either, do you?
No.
The L85A1?
When I say 28 Days Later, what pops in your head?
Fast Zombies.
Oh, no, this is the Hugh Grant one.
Oh, okay. It's different. though.
Cheerio. I don't have a Hugh Grant impression.
I've never seen it.
I'm not foppish enough. Okay, well,
But from what I hear, it's pretty ridiculous.
it's a
I
take.
think it was groundbreaking, wasn't it?
It's
like
a take on
it was
on the genre.
very different.
It's a take on the genre. We'll say that. How's that?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm down.
Bull pups. Lots of them. Bull pups all over the place.
Bullpups.
Bull pups. Needless to
And
say,
it has.
we're going to have a substantial guns. That's all I'm
Yes,
saying.
you're gonna need that theme song.
Mm.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yes.
We should do guns to the tune of Girls, Girls, Girls.
Guns.
Da, da,
Dun, dun. You guys can riff that on live.
We definitely could.
You can play that live. We're doing live.
So you may be bummed that spring break is over, but you're back at work and your boss is out of town, so you get a day to goof around and watch a movie. That's how it's going to
28
feel.
days. Yeah. Yes.
Also guns. Thank you for joining us on the Remedial Film Class Podcast. As always, you can find us at facebook.com/remedialfilmpod. You can also join the Extra Credit discussion group at facebook.com/groups/remedialfilmpod. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Search for Remedial Film Class Podcast, where we're putting all new content and as well as some exclusive little special features for you. And if we hit a certain benchmark, we'll be able to start broadcasting live, which is just a terrible idea, but admit it, you're kind of interested to see what would happen. Plus, it's a good forum for us to have Travis pressured further to eventually remake Clerks with the script of Night of the Living Dead, but also he has to hit his head on a rock. I think I kept that straight. I'm not really sure. We'll see you back here next week for 28 Days Later.